Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel. My name is Alison, the online piano and the online violin tutor. So this is a question that pops up all the time on my channel, and it is, how much practice should I be doing? Now it's a little bit of a tricky question to answer, and I will try and answer it the best I can, and I'll try and give you some numbers and things like that. But before I do, I just want to tell you about my 1 to 30 violin course. I know a lot of you are new to this channel. Maybe you stumbled across this video because you want to know the answer to what I'm going to say. Maybe you're starting out and you've just come across videos and you're trying to find your way around the violin and how to learn it and things. Well, I've got a 1 to 30 violin course that I just want to tell you about for a few seconds, and then we'll get right back onto the video. So my 1 to 30 violin course that I have just down here in front of me, it absolutely guarantees to take you from a complete beginner to a very decent, accomplished intermediate player. And that course is absolutely guaranteed. If you follow all 30 of my lessons, this course is tried and tested, and I've been teaching it privately with my own students for the last 20 odd years. So it is tried and tested, and I can assure you it works. And I'm going to tell you exactly why. So first of all, my course takes you through the basics of holding the instrument, the violin and the bow, how and where to bow, as well as teaching you to read music, which I think is really important and probably one of the most popular questions that I get asked about my course. Throughout the course, you're also going to be going through scales and arpeggios along the way, which is needed for precise technique and intonation. You're also going to be covering and learning theory that's going to be accompanying the practical element of things, and it's going to go hand in hand with the exact standard of the work that you're going to be covering in the book. You're going to be working your way through many exercises and pieces that have all been arranged for the correct standard of each level for each book, whilst learning to read music. And this is going to be done all in the comfort of your own home, at your own pace, in your own time, whenever, wherever, however you like. You're going to be suitably challenged along the way, and you're going to be learning fast, efficiently, but most importantly, professionally and competently. So this is an interactive online course that comes with books and videos. All the links and all the QR codes are going to be in the video, so you can watch them whether you've printed out the book or whether you're clicking on the links on the book on your computer or your device, whichever is up to you. And this book course can be purchased and downloaded directly from my online shop, which I will put links directly underneath this video. The course is available to absolutely anyone, anywhere in the world, and you can learn at your own pace in the comfort of your own home. But finally, the best part about this book course is that the first 10 lessons are absolutely free, along with any of the resources, backing tracks, or anything like that needed. So that's going to give you an idea of my teaching style, how you get on with it, how far you think you're going to get, whether you're actually going to like the violin before you invest in a course or anything like that, because I know it's really important to see whether you're going to like something before you start shelling out loads of money and then decide that it's not quite for you. So the first 10 lessons are absolutely free, so please do go ahead and knock yourself out with that. You can watch all of the videos as well. They're all available to watch on YouTube. I have absolutely nothing to hide. I absolutely promise you that by the time you get to lesson 10, you're not going to want to stop, and you're going to want to carry on beyond that. So how much should you practice is a difficult one, but if I was going to break it down into days, hours, numbers, minutes, and that kind of thing, practice depends on your level and what you're practicing at the moment. Now, ideally you want to be practicing every day. Every day would be a good time to practice. Practicing every other day is okay, it's just not going to be as consistent as practicing every day. But obviously I appreciate that most of you watching this are going to have lives and jobs, and you're adults and you've got kids to deal with, and all of that kind of stuff that goes with the day-to-day living your life. So maybe every day isn't going to be possible, but even if you can put aside, if you're a beginner, if you can put aside about half an hour every day as kind of you time, then that would be ideal. I think you're going to make good progress with that. So first of all, you need to be practicing every day. There's nothing to say that you can't sort of practice Monday to Saturday, give yourself a day off on Sunday. That's perfectly acceptable. We all need a bit of a break from things from time to time, but suffice to say, you get the point that you want to be practicing every day. Every day is going to give you that consistency rather than 3 times a week. It's the same as going to the gym. If you're going to the gym 6 or 7 days a week, you're going to lose a lot more weight a lot quicker than you are if you're going to the gym maybe 2 to 3 times a week. Obviously it's going to depend on what you do, but you know what you can see the analogy that I'm making there. So consistency is really key with practice, but to put a time frame on it, every single day ideally. How long to practice every single day? Okay, so let's just use my book course as an example. It's probably just the easiest thing. So if you have just started out and you're going through lessons 1 to 10, okay, so lessons 5 to 10 are where you're actually playing on the violin. Before that, it's just teaching you how to hold the violin, how to hold the bow, where to bow, and all that kind of good stuff. So if you're getting on to lesson 5, 6 and 7, then you're going through the open strings, first finger exercises, and then the second finger exercises. So let's take those three. Let's assume you've done lessons 5, 6 and 7 and you're kind of combining all of those. I would also just kind of slip in here as a little caveat, a little bit of kind of teaching advice if you like. Even though you might have done lesson 5 and you've got it, fine. Lesson 6, yeah, got it. Lesson 7, yeah, got it. Doesn't hurt going back to lesson 5 and doing those exercises again that are on lesson 5. I would mix all of those 3 exercises, or mix all those 3 PDF sheets together. So let's say you've got your 3 PDF sheets for lesson 5, 6 and 7 in front of you. Then at this point, I would probably say that maybe 30 minutes would be a good amount of time. You've got to remember that you can't just keep practicing for hours on end. So if you're a professional, someone like me, 2 hours really isn't going to cut it. It's just not going to, it's not going to be enough. The kind of music I'm playing is this big. It's ginormous. It's complex. It's difficult. It's full of challenges. It's got this, that, and the other in it. So that's the kind of music that I'm playing at, the kind of standard and level that I am. I've been playing for many years, so that would be the case for me. And all your other world-class professional violinists, we'd need to be playing for hours a day. So someone like David Garrett, it's at Perlman, Hilary Hahn, they're going to be playing for hours, but that's their job. That's their 9 till 5. So if you go and work in a grocery store, or you're working in a hospital, you're working in a school, whatever it is that you're doing, you're going into work at 9 and you're coming home at 5. So you're doing a good kind of 8 hours. So that's their job. For someone who is sort of playing for a living and they're gigging and that sort of thing, then, you're kind of looking at a few hours to perfect. So your level is just going to be an appropriate time. You can't play for an hour. There's physically nothing for you to do for an hour. And I feel like it's a waste of time, because you're just going to be going on and on and on with the same things. And you don't give your brain enough time to go away, sleep on that knowledge, figure it all out, and come back the next day and use that information that's been digested and kind of apply it to the next day. You kind of get a bit mentally tired and a bit kind of exhausted as well. So lessons 5, 6 and 7, then yeah, I'd say something like 30 minutes. If you were adding in, if you were still going through the exercises on lesson 5, 6 and 7, and you've got yourself to lesson 10 as well, again, doesn't hurt to go back over that, and you're doing the Gypsy Firelight, and you're trying to work through that, and then you're trying to play it with the backing track, then if you're trying to get that up and running and working through the backing track, for example, then you could be playing anywhere from 30 minutes, maybe to 45, 50, maybe even an hour, depending on how kind of determined you were. So I would use lesson 5, 6 and 7, another little bit of teaching advice I get that kind of isn't always in the videos, but use the sheets from lesson 5, 6 and 7 as like a little warm-up. And then when you're playing your Gypsy Firelights, you can then use that to be, trying to get it with a backing track, making sure that you can play it okay without the backing track first, making sure you can play it up to speed and all that kind of good stuff. So when you are moving on to some of the other books, so maybe you are moving on to the tutorial book, which is lessons 11 to 20, and depending on what you're working on here, so again, you could probably be working on something like this for about 45 minutes. So I'm assuming that you might also still be challenging yourself with Gypsy Firelight. from lesson 10, there's no way you're going to have that down and dusted within like a few days. That's not going to happen. So, you know, you can always keep that in your back pocket and keep going through that whilst moving on to the other stuff in the tutorial book, getting better. Then you're getting better as you're getting better through going through this, by going through this book. When you go back to Gypsy Firelight, you'll find things will click and things will just be so much more efficient and better and faster. And that will be because you've improved through this book. So it's a good way of kind of teaching yourself how to, or knowing if, you know, how and when you've improved. So again, this kind of level, then you're probably looking at, you know, your 45-minute, maybe even 60-minute mark if you're still working through some exercises to perfect them from the tutorial book, lessons 11 to 20, and maybe you're going through a couple of pieces in the songbook as well. I would always recommend that you kind of interchange. Don't just kind of, you know, dump one book for the other book. You could be working on this book, but also you could be going back and nailing these as well. So again, you're not going to nail these the first time, but have a little go on this. You're improving whilst you're learning. Come back to this, and I promise you that you'll find this so much easier as well. So again, can you sort of see where the time is going and how now the time is building up and you've got something to occupy your time with? So if you're doing that kind of thing and you're interchanging the books, the tutorial books and the song books and things like that, you know, with whatever you're doing with your teacher, or if you're following my course, whatever, then you're probably going to be looking at around about 45 minutes to a good 60-minute mark. When you're moving on to the third set of books, so lessons 21 to 30, these are a lot more intense. So there's a lot more to do. Plus you've got the scales and arpeggios from lessons 21 to 11 to 20. You're amalgamating and accumulating all that information as well. So we're not just getting rid of the scales that we've done in book 2, we're using those as well as everything that we're kind of doing in book 3. So you can kind of take things on. You can also be playing things from songbook 3 while still throwing in things from songbook 1. So again, you've now got a huge repertoire of work, and your playing is now, you know, a good 60 minutes plus. So again, do you see what I'm saying? It's depending on what you're playing and how much you're practicing, how much content you're practicing, I should say, not how much in terms of time, but how much content you're playing is going to relate to how long you should be playing for. So I don't like to say, you know, in the comments when someone says, how long should I be practicing for? And I'll say, oh, hi, you should be practicing for 10 minutes. In what context? Somebody's on book 3 and they're practicing for 10 minutes. It's going to take you 10 minutes just to probably play one piece through once. That isn't practice. That's nowhere near practice. You know, you should be 10 minutes just maybe working through 1 or 2 lines of one of these pieces to really perfect it, because there's so much more going on with this. We've got more bowing techniques, more challenging bowing techniques. We're moving up into different positions. So it suddenly becomes a lot bigger and a lot more complicated. So 10 minutes just ain't going to cut it on something like this. So then you're going to be looking at maybe at least an hour, maybe even something like 45 minutes just on one piece. And then you've got to spend another 45 minutes on the second piece that you're learning from here. So do you see what I mean? It's all about time, and it's all about content that you're doing. And you want to give each portion of your learning, whether that is little exercises and a piece. So the exercises from lessons 5, 6, 7, and maybe a piece from songbook 1, or the Gypsy Firelight from lesson 10. So you might want to give the exercises maybe 10-15 minutes. You want to give Gypsy Firelight 10, 15, 20 minutes. All of a sudden that's adding up to, you know, 30 to 40 minutes of practice. So you've segmented your practicing and you're kind of allotting times to it as well. So that's why I can't just sit here and say, oh, 15 minutes. Because it doesn't mean anything to anybody. I don't know what you're doing and what you're practicing and what level you are and that kind of thing. So again, I can't sort of give you a time like that, but I can give you a rough idea by using, I suppose, this course as an example as to what you might be playing and how long you should dedicate the time for. The more complicated you're playing, the longer you'll be playing for, but you're not going to be clock watching or noticing. The time will just be how it is. If you find yourself not really getting anywhere, the practicing isn't really doing anything, and your mind is off elsewhere, then call it a day. It's going to be no good. But a practice session, let me just tell you this, a practice session is not playing something through once or twice, putting the instrument down, and then off you go to do something else. That's not a practice session. Remember this, a practice session is a session where you are better at the end than you were at the start. So if you've achieved nothing, you've accomplished nothing, you haven't practiced. You haven't practiced and you haven't focused enough, you haven't practiced hard enough, and you haven't practiced efficiently enough. So I'm going to stop talking on that one. The links to buy my 1 to 30 violin course are going to be in the description bar underneath this video. If you want to check that out, in all seriousness, it is a great course. First 10 lessons are absolutely free, as you know all of this, so go and check them out. I'll put a link to those if you want to try before you buy, so to speak, but I know you're going to love it. Yeah, it's a great course, and it guarantees to work. So thank you very much for watching, and I will see you in my next video. Bye.